Hi, I'm Dean DeMarzo.
And I'm Tori DeMarzo.
And you're listening to Relatively in Tune, where we talk to creative people and the people close to them. Our guest today is Amanda Barise and her cousin. Why don't you introduce yourselves?
Hi, my name is Amanda Barise, and I'm joined by
Daneyko. I'm Amanda's cousin, fellow musician, and yes, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Of course, thank you for being here. Why don't you introduce, you mentioned just a little bit of something really interesting about how you met, how you know each other. Could you tell that story?
Yeah, I had been following Amanda on social media for a few years. In like 2018, she did a cover, an Aretha Franklin cover, and I was like, this girl's freaking incredible. Followed her. And I know we had a vocal coach in common, and we had a workshop. We were going to the same workshop. When I met her, we hit it off right away. I was so nervous to sing in front of her, but she was like, you're great. And I was like, what? So then we hit it off. She reminded me so much of my family, like her mannerisms, the way she like talked, and I started calling her cuz. We were calling each other cuz. And then, long story short, found out we're literally family. Her grandfather was like siblings through marriage with my great-grandfather. And so our families are literally quite very connected. So we really manifested as saying cuz.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, like you intuitively knew, like,
It's a small world. Man.
wow.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
So then once you found out, like, did you guys go to like family events together or?
we haven't gotten that far, but
but my family knows the whole like Barise
Yes.
clan, and
Yeah.
you know, my grandmother was her mother was a Barise, and so it's nuts. It's a very small world.
So you said you guys had the same vocal coach. You're also a musician?
our vocal coach is, or I'm on and off, is Kate Baker in West Orange, New Jersey. So I've studied with her since I'm like a little girl. My first ever teacher was Patrice Pickering, who was the lead in Phantom of the Opera for 20 plus years.
Oh my gosh.
But Broadway wasn't really the direction I wanted to go. So I was put in touch with Kate by a gentleman named Joshua Paul Thompson, who's pretty much like George Benson's guy,
Oh,
He was instrumental in
Oh my gosh.
some Aretha albums and Alicia Keys, her first major hits. So, he really knew who the right vocal coach was, and it's Kate. She was married to Vic Juris for many, many years, one of the most amazing jazz guitarists. So I feel very spoiled. I was like raised in her household. My parents would drop me off for a workshop that was 2 weeks, and it would just be music all day long.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh. That's an insane pedigree of musicians you're all just pulling from. That's incredible. And digging back through the music you've made, not just your performances on Idol, but also videos you've posted to YouTube, it's clear like jazz is such a huge, massive part of what you do. Can you talk about your introduction to jazz music? Are your parents musicians?
My mom, I love her, but she can't sing. She has not a musical bone in her body. My dad was a drummer and a singer when he was, younger and my age, but he eventually got a real job and paid the bills, started a family, had kids. I'm pretty much the only one in the arts in my family, so it's pretty odd for the rest of my family and where they went. But the introduction to jazz is definitely from Kate, from Vic Juris, and yeah, I went to the New School as well. I got a BFA in jazz and contemporary music studies with a concentration in voice. So a lot of what I do has heavy jazz influences. There's some crazy arrangements sometimes, but I don't know if Irv would consider me jazz. They might consider me alternative R&B, where sometimes I do have some like alternative jazz songs, although I consider myself a jazz.
I would.
Yeah.
Ew.
That arrangement on Ain't Nobody, like there's that's
That's
some
all
heavy,
James
heavy
Francis.
stuff there.
Yeah, that's all James Francis.
So you said, from Kate, the influence was there. What brought you to her in the first place? Because jazz is, for better or worse, it's not what I would say, a popular go-to genre for a lot of people.
kid too, especially.
Yeah, especially for a kid. Where did that start?
I think I was 5 or 6 years old, and There was a local talent show in my town I had entered, and it just so happens that Aretha Franklin's bass player was in the audience.
What?
Yeah, it's really random.
Oh,
So, I sang a Frank Sinatra song, and he had found my parents after, gave them his business card and said, you really need to put your daughter in some lessons. And, they spoke further about it, but it really started because of him.
wow.
I mean, just the number of people in your obviously like you're the one who put the work in and you're the one who has the talent, but I think it's just insane the number of names you've said so far of like people who came into your life because of that talent, and it's just crazy. That's just crazy. That's
I feel
amazing.
very lucky. I feel very
Yeah.
lucky.
And obviously the support is there from your parents too to take you to those lessons to, like you said, your dad, grew up and got a real job, but it's clear they encouraged you to follow this as your career, right?
Yeah, my parents have always been very supportive. They did want me when I went to college to study something real. So I was working on 2 degrees simultaneously. So I did put a lot of work and years in studying culture and media and reading Marshall McLuhan and all those really deep texts that the new school hands you and says, read
Yeah.
this and write me a paper. Yeah, they've always been very, very supportive. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am without that encouragement. And, my dad basically being a taxi my first 18 years of life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're a full-time musician now.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does that entail? So what does your day-to-day look like?
Obviously when you're
It
not on
depends.
a national television
Right,
show,
yes.
aside from that.
Yeah, obviously when I'm in New York and I'm doing what I do every day, I mean, it really depends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday could be wedding, wedding, wedding. It could be a lounge gig, my personal gig at, elsewhere, and a church gig on Sunday morning that you're tired and you have to get up for. Monday's usually quiet. I like, Monday's my recovery day. A lot of social media, a lot of writing. I've been in the final stages of my debut album. So that has been a lot
Oh.
post Idol. It will make its way out there very soon after the finale.
Oh, good. I'm glad to
I
hear
am
that.
so excited.
I'm very glad to hear that.
I cannot wait.
Can you talk about what kind of songs are going on to that? What kind of arrangements?
No, I would love to. I would love to. There's a lot of alternative jazz in there. There's a lot of alternative R&B. There's an interlude that's very gospely. It's just voice and piano. There's a lot of mixture of having my band in the studio, recording them, taking all those live elements, and then making, like a little bit of a more commercial sound. Not too commercial, don't get me wrong, but reining in that craziness a little bit that you've seen from us.
Giving it that like pop sheen, like just kind of ironing it and
Just a
finishing it a
little,
little
just
more. Yeah,
very,
absolutely.
very little. There's a couple tracks with jazz pianist Telemachus. He plays piano. He's a producer. He's incredible, but he's an even better human being. So I'm really happy to have him on my project. There's an interlude with Bryn Bliska. She's out in LA, as is Telemachus. Maybe the most popish jazz track on the album so far is actually, I just sent it off to Gareth Donkin to get a little, zhuzh on production. So there's some really great musicians and artists in their own right on my album. And there's a lot of jazz in there, but there's a lot of me. I feel, of course, every artist wants to say it's a sound that hasn't been heard before, but all of these songs together and the sound, I don't really think that anybody's doing it right now.
I think that's so valid to say. When you can find that sound, that's something that takes a long time to do. It is not easy, and especially when you have so many different facets of things you bring to it. The alternative R&B. Tori Kelly is a name that comes to mind a lot when I hear your voice, for sure, and then also just this like super strong traditional jazz vibe and pop and everything. Yeah, of course, it's a truly unique mixture the way you bring it.
I kind of wanted to pedal back a little bit and just ask, why did you bring your cousin on today? Like, what made you think that he was the perfect guest to bring on the podcast?
I have known Shane for a few years now, and Daneyko, the artist name. So let's get that
My
straight.
artist name is my last name.
Sounds good.
Yes, Daneyko.
That's good.
So, I've just always appreciated his artistry and how authentic his sound is. I know that I just said that about myself, but another artist that I can say that about is Daneyko. The vocal arrangements, the technical ability, I think it's far beyond what is just normalized in music and on social media right now. I really have a deep appreciation for true musicians and true vocalists. It's not always about being gorgeous and shaking your ass in a video.
We can do that too.
We could do that too. He's a true artist and a true musician.
Thank you.
Of course. Anytime I can, share the spotlight, I want to, because I'm a fan. So it just so happens that we're also family.
Yeah, I was gonna say the music side is from your dad's side, which is my side, so it makes sense.
There you go.
Have you guys done anything together?
We sing all the time together. There are some things in the archives that will come out at some point.
And there's a single. We've sang it a few times at your shows.
Oh, I have a song called "Dancing with You" that I haven't officially released yet. It's kind of like a pop and B bossa vibe that I will have to get out at some point. I did have her come in the studio and do like 100 stacks of harmonies, and it sounds freaking amazing.
Nice.
All arranged by him, all written by him.
Wow.
So I would just want to tweak some production stuff, have it fit my more contemporary sound now. But yeah, that'll come out at some point. It has to. She's so fun to sing with. We're always just going back and forth.
Just, back and forth. We have this one video out there. What is it?
Yeah, just the two of us.
Or whatever we did.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we did. It was so many years ago now. But it was live. We did it in one take. And this run that we did, insert run here.
I'll splice it in.
The run that we did,
Yeah,
it was like so in unison when we were recording. We played it back and we couldn't even tell who was who.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanna jump onto that then, because I know this is something. My wife, she's a wonderful vocalist, amazing singer.
Not really.
I get by, I just yell things. But something you have talked about being something you really want to work on is runs, agility, control, like that.
Yeah, I started working with Nathan Farrell for a while about it and love him. Like, I love his runs. Everything that he does is incredible. But like, it's also helpful to hear from a female perspective as well of like, what tips would you give?
Where do you start?
I mean, obviously you started in jazz, and I think that that's probably super helpful, because something that Nathan has said is you really should know scales, and you really should know, I don't know, a whole bunch of, you said that too, but
play your scales. Yeah.
and I don't have any musical background at all. It was just something that I enjoyed doing, and now I'm getting frustrated and I feel like I can't do it. I feel like my voice gets stuck in my throat. So like, and you do just so many. It's incredible. Like, and especially going up, I struggle going up. I can go down. I just can't go up. Like, what would you suggest?
Going up is always harder.
Yeah.
I would say if you can't do it extremely slow, you can't do it really fast.
Yeah, I know.
I was onto something with the scales, because scales are basically just a very slow run, depending on how fast you practice it. So if there's an artist that you love and that you'd like to emulate, I would pick out a certain run they do that you're like, oh, I wish I could learn that, and throw it on, YouTube, put it a little bit slower in whatever software you use, and do it slow until you can do it fast. But the other side of that is there's a lot of vocalists that gain the ability to do runs, and they deepen their agility, and it's like they're driving a Ferrari. But it's really about knowing the changes of the song that you're singing. It's like about knowing that the theory behind it as well.
Yeah, that's what I get stuck with, I think.
Yeah, but it's a learnable skill. You know what I mean? It's just put on your favorite person who does runs and
It
do
sounds so
with a
easy.
straw into a water bottle, and that'll get it faster probably than anything. The
Wait, what did you
semi-
say? Blow through a straw in a water bottle?
Yeah, so one of the most amazing things that Kate ever taught me was semi-occluded exercises, which brings like the chords together, but in a very healthy way. So it massages fluid off. And it also helps you strengthen your instrument and not use any of the improper muscles here. So if you use like what Kate always said, Kate Baker, you take a water bottle like that, and then there's 3 fingers of liquid on the bottom. Like that's the amount because you don't want it too hard to blow bubbles through. You put the straw in the water bottle and you completely put all of your air and sound through the straw. And that healthy cord closure is really like what strengthens and heals and builds your voice.
Would you hold like a single long tone through that? Are you running your runs through that while you do that?
Yeah, so when I'm initially warming up, I'll do long tones. So I'll start on like an A below middle C, and I'll just do as long as I can on the note, blowing all of the air and the sound through the straw, not out, not in the mouth here. And then I do my songs on it.
That's interesting. I like that theory of like knowing where to place it, because that's the other thing is that he was saying, I think you're using too much breath. Like you have to control it and use as little as possible, which was like not really something that clicked in my brain until he said it. So that, I mean, I feel like that would also help because you're trying to control it through the straw.
Yeah, you're strengthening this whole system.
I wonder if that's why I have a lot of jaw issues because we used to perform like
She has a lot of jaw
every
tension when she
weekend
sings.
and
Causes a lot of pain.
yeah, so we've had to stop for a while, but I will try that because I bet it would probably help strengthen the correct
Yeah.
muscles. Maybe I don't know. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, the tongue is a muscle like anything else. So you have to work it out. I do a lot of massaging. I do a lot of weird exercises. It looks crazy, but it works, right? You do crazy
Oh,
things
yeah.
too.
Oh my God. The sheep.
Tell us
Yeah,
about
he does
that one.
That one's supposed to get the resonators really going crazy. So that's just supposed to help project with little pressure. But like she's saying, the semi-occluded exercises are SOVTs. You can look up a bunch. The straw phonation is super helpful. That just gets your voice feeling free and open, which is very necessary if you're trying to attempt new runs or just want to improve your agility. And like exactly like you said, taking it step by step, like as if you're learning a new sentence or a paragraph in another language. You take one sentence or one phrase at a time slowly, and then you can speak the whole sentence or sing the whole phrase. Yeah.
It's something you build on.
Yeah, be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised.
To your point of it, these exercises sounding ridiculous and everything. If you think about like any other exercise, any physical exercise you would do. Like if I just walked around doing this all day, I'd look ridiculous, but you do it in a gym, it makes sense. It's so, yeah, that's
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I want to hear your perspective, Daneyko, about when Amanda got on American Idol. Like, what did you think when you saw her on TV for the first time?
I was so incredibly proud. I can't even describe the feeling. I mean, I had been telling her for so long, you need to go on one of these shows just because she has the voice and the presence built for it. But it's a huge thing. There's, a lot of apprehension can go into it, yada, yada, yada. But I knew once she told me, like, I'm doing Idol, that she would take that by storm. And the moment I saw her like getting previewed in all the commercials, I was like, oh, she's like the it girl in the show. And the judges really echoed how I felt about everything. Just her vulnerability, her ability just to be her voice. There's so much honesty in her sound. She's just great foot singing, and she's has so much soul, and there's so much technique, but that's not even something you have to put on. It's just years, all of her years of training, but just her her ear and her heart, everything just it literally oozes out of the screen. She has so much and also charisma as well. It's overwhelming. Like the talent is overwhelming. And I've always just thought she's the greatest singer I know. Like no, really.
Aw.
To see someone be so appreciated that is not only such an incredible vocalist but an incredible person. It's like I was like getting the Holy Ghost watching. I was like shaking. My whole family were all like crying. And then this past week, the Etta James rendition she did paid, homage. I know Etta's one of your big influences, but so authentically you, and you're again just so well received because people respond to authenticity. Like she's a real singer, and she doesn't put anything on. You're just you, and you don't have to put anything on. You're a real freaking singer, and the world is going to respond to it and continue responding to it. So I'm not
100%.
surprised at the reception. It's just the beginning of like a lifelong journey of the world getting to know her and the beginning of her journey.
We have to get you on American Idol.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, hey, if it all works out,
American Idol, if you're watching.
Check them
But
out.
yeah, they reacted exactly how I would expect them to
You and your
react.
mom are amazing. He sent me a video when the episode was airing of like him and his mom watching and just like
Oh.
freaking out for me. And it's just
Yeah.
like, you're like,
We were
oh.
all like, yeah, we have like a very like expressive, over the top, reactionary Italian family, whatever.
Yes.
So it was like,
Oh yeah, I know. Same. Yeah.
everyone's like, oh my god,
My,
And, like,
my dad is crying.
yeah, no.
My mom is crying,
But I was also trying to like record it all and like be quiet, so I was like, no one say anything. So just like bursting at the seams. But just so exciting. I mean, it was everything that I had expected it to be. It was amazing. I'm so proud. I'm off the moon. It's the beginning of an amazing career. Even though she's been doing this
Yes.
forever, but I feel like the world's finally getting to see her.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to put it out there right now. For the past couple months, we've been telling each other, okay, see you at the Grammys. See you at the Grammys. And we were saying cousin before we even knew cousin. So see you at the Grammys.
Yeah, amen. We've had
Yes.
lots of moments. Literally anything is possible. I think you could
Anything.
say the same thing. We were both raised
Anything.
with the idea that it happened for other people. If you surround yourself with the right people
Yeah.
and you put yourself in, those right rooms and you give it your all.
Yeah, why not?
Literally anything. can
Anything's
happen.
possible.
We were just talking
That
about
was-
that with another
Yeah.
person that's going to be on the podcast at some point.
Yes.
Exactly that it's so important with who you surround yourself with and like just putting it out there and just giving it a shot. Otherwise, if you don't, you're never going to get there. Like
Right.
you
that,
have no idea.
That someone has to win those Grammys.
Yeah.
Someone
has to do it.
It's going to win it.
Why can't it be you? It's got to be
Right.
somebody. And the only people who get there are the people who go for it.
Yeah.
Literally. Like you could even accidentally work on a project that wins a Grammy and you don't even know.
Right.
It's just by like being there at the right time. My boyfriend won a Grammy this past Grammys.
What?
Which one?
So he's an audio engineer. So he won with Corey Henry for his album Church.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah,
awesome.
so he's audio engineer on like he recorded all the choirs, put it together. He recorded some other elements and put it together for Corey. So we didn't even know him personally before Max Fagan. That's my boyfriend. Before he worked. So he's just working at a studio. He gets a call. He's like, "Can you do this for this dollar amount?" He's like, "Yep." And he shows up and it's
Wow.
Corey Henry.
Wow. Wow.
I want to know the process of choosing, and you don't have to talk about this if it's too behind the scenes, but choosing the songs you sang on Idol so far. What went into those choices?
Every song that I've chosen to sing for a round of Idols so far has been a song that I've either gigged with for many years, means something very deeply to me, or it's just a song that I've always, always loved, and I'll put it on 100 times in a row and never get tired of it. It goes so quickly that I'm trying not to pick songs at random out of a hat,
Yeah.
'cause I have to learn it, I have to get familiar with it. But everything has been very important to me. Younger me, current me before I was even really a good singer, because we all suck at one point in time.
Yep.
That's important for people to know that. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to suck. There's videos out there. You could go see it.
No, there's not. No, there's not. I went all the
Yeah,
way
we
back.
went all the
There's
way
none
back.
of those.
Yeah.
There's other videos I'm not proud of. Maybe they don't suck. There's videos that I don't like.
Who are some of those influences?
Etta James, obviously.
Yeah, you mentioned a few, but
Yeah, Daneyko said one before. Etta James. I used to listen to Etta James like nobody's business. And I'm telling you, like at 10 years old, I'm begging my mom to put on the Etta James album in the car. So
that's how she knew.
That's a sign.
That's how she
yeah.
knew.
That's not common.
sign that there's something happening. I don't know what it is, but there's something. But yeah, my early influences: Aretha Franklin, Etta James, Donny Hathaway, Ella Fitzgerald. When I really wanted to get into scatting and learning solos, she was the first solo that I learned. Take the A Train, first solo on that. So Airmail Special, but also by Ella Fitzgerald, is crazy. That has taken me years, when I tell you, to learn, and I still don't know all of it. She's a masterclass all in herself. But I went through stages. My dad was really instrumental with putting me through like music school in our basement growing up,
Yeah.
and moved through like American standards, Motown, blues. And then when we moved more into jazz, he would play me people like Dinah Washington and obviously Ella Fitzgerald. And there is even this one Diane Krall song I used to love as a kid called Frim Fram Sauce. It's a deep cut, but it's a good one.
So many people that you mentioned. Like I remember listening to Aretha Franklin as a kid, and I mentioned this in another episode, but like when I was growing up, I didn't want to share my iPod with people because I thought it was weird. And like nowadays, especially like coming into soul pop, and a lot of people are like going back to jazz, I feel like, especially in the New York scene.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel so weird anymore. I'm like, yeah, these people get me. And I love that.
Yeah.
Just love that.
Enjoy the music you like.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because there's a lot of different people, I think, on American Idol who, they always tend to lean towards like one or two genres. And like, I just love that you just are able to go on and be yourself and just completely like blow it out of the water. Like completely blow it out of the water, but also be yourself. Like you closed your eyes and went to a place that was your own. And that's hard to do, especially in front of a room full of people that you don't know who, you do know
camera.
because they're crazy musicians, but to just do that and turn off your brain was like, whatever, man, if it works, it works. Like you just put your whole heart into it and you can tell.
What's that? And I'm going to ask like the cheesiest, most common interview question ever, but like, what is that like, that moment when you're in that room and you're singing for the judges for the first time?
For Lionel Richie, for
where's your head?
Carrie Underwood, like
About
crazy.
the audition, or are we talking about first round of Hollywood Week?
I'm going to say audition. I want to know.
Yeah, because it's just you,
Yeah.
Also when everyone else is watching you in Hollywood, that's also pressure. But
Both of those. I'd love to hear both stories. I'm going to be greedy.
Yeah, so my attitude, it was quite different for both. Going into the audition, quite honestly, in my head, I was being a little pessimistic. Of course, I went in there with zero expectation because that's just how I roll. I'm going to prepare myself for the worst. And if it's better, then hallelujah. I was like, they're just going to be like, you're great, but not exactly what we're looking for, because there's not a whole lot of American Idol winners that look like me or sound like me ever. So I just went into my audition and I absolutely sang a hell of a lot longer than they wanted me to sing, and they let it happen. So, they edited my audition down a little bit. I did actually sing the entire song,
Wow.
but it was cut in a way that you'd think I just sang the choruses. Whoever edited that did a
I
great
was going to
job.
say,
Yeah.
I'm an audio engineer and I didn't hear a single cut in there. That's amazing.
I sang the entire song and then some at the end. Once again, I just sort of entered that trance in the audition where I black out. And then when I was finished, I sort of came to and I was like, I was singing for too long.
Oh,
Yeah, where you made that same face.
Yeah,
At the end.
too long. I was like, sorry, I know you said 90 seconds, but that was 5 minutes.
they
So
didn't seem upset by it.
no, they
Watch it-
weren't upset by it, which was really, really refreshing. And the judges really were so supportive. And I think they saw exactly who I am. That translated over into the first round of Hollywood Week, where my attitude wasn't pessimistic. It was very positive. And I was going in thinking, I do have a right to be here. I feel like I'm really different than everybody else, but maybe that would work to my advantage. Who knows? I did say in the episode that I do feel like an underdog, and part of me still does feel that way, although my confidence, of course, in the show context is growing. And I think that jumping back to what you said before, there is a swing back to jazz and to real music. And it's why I wanted to bring my favorite real vocalist and musician. Most of how I felt in the audition and then going into the first round of Hollywood Week was really controlled by my own attitude and outlook. And my whole outlook since the audition, when I finally committed, is that this is a really amazing opportunity. And I'm so surprised with everything I've heard in the past about this show, how just absolutely not it. Like that's what it is. It's amazing. The people are very supportive. They want to give you every opportunity they can find for you. They want you to look your best. They want you to sound your best. But I've also had really heartfelt conversations with some of the people that, we're away for a month and we're seeing them every single day. And so they want to also take care of you emotionally. They want to say, how are you feeling today? Like, I've been pulled aside, even I'm not going to say their name, but pulled aside and said, we really want you to show like you. Don't feel like you have to do anything you don't want to do, but also don't feel like you have to go sit in the corner. Because that's kind of the person I am.
I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is amazing. Everyone that I've met is very professional who works with the show. There's a lot of really talented artists. So it's just been an incredible experience.
I want to jump gears just because this is one of my favorite performances of anything I've ever seen. But you're Defying Gravity with Third Reprise. I want to hear how that came about. What that whole
Yeah, how does it
thing
work?
was.
Like,
So good.
how do you get that opportunity to sing with them? And but I don't know, what does
What was
that
the
look like?
connection there? Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we're all a group. Everyone that sings lead then sings background. So it switches off. It's led and arranged by Dan Rudin. I just hit him up one day on Instagram DM. We really need to make a video together. That's when I first started posting crazy arrangements, and they started going kind of wild online. And I was really riding that train of crazy arrangement covers, and so it's like, please, we have to do something. And then he hit me back and he said, okay, all right, let's do something. I think I have something for you. I think I have. It was my fault that it didn't happen sooner, because the first time it was all sort of set up, I had to cancel because my grandfather passed away.
Oh,
And then
sorry.
there was another time after that, it was all set up and I had to cancel. It was either the first time I was incredibly sick, and then the second time my grandfather passed away, and then the third time we made it work.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah.
I pitched in for all the studio time that I caused, and it really actually made the record come out better because the musicians were all recorded separately. The horn section was recorded separately, so that really elevated the quality. A little bit of God, a little bit of me, being in my alter ego and being like, yeah, I'm gonna hit him up. Yeah, I'm gonna let's and like then I'm just sending the message, and I don't know if he's gonna respond. And then he did, and he arranged this amazing funky version. And I was like, do I have permission to just like do my thing on this? And he was like, go do your thing. And then so I sang it.
I think it came out at the perfect time. I mean, when it comes to how it related to the timeline of the movie releasing, I don't know if it was right around when a trailer dropped or a big casting announcement or something, but it just hit right at the right moment. It was incredible.
It rode a lot of the correct trains to blow up on the level that it did.
Yeah.
But to comment on what you're saying of just like, you just like message him and just try it. Like, I say that all the time, is that it's so important to just like, if you want something, you can reach out to people. And if they say no, whatever, you move on. And like, I always live by that.
It's what you're doing. It's why we're here.
It's why we're here.
You reached out to American Idol contestant,
but
incredible
also,
singer
like,
Amanda Barise.
In any place of work, like in yoga, I used to just say like, go reach out to yoga studios and see if they like need a yoga teacher, like someone, or when we gig, like just reach out to people and ask if you can perform there. Like so many people have said like, how did you get these gigs? Like how do you do it? You just message people, you call them, you throw it out to like 50 different people, and eventually you're gonna get an answer. And like, it's okay to just ask for what you want, and like, cool and awesome things happen from it, because like most of the time people are just like, yeah, you're just another person, sure. Like it's not like, people are too scary to talk.
And most of the time people need someone like a band like that needs an incredible singer to sing on stuff. And
may not have the time to reach out. Like, they're probably just as like, in need of something as well.
You are, exactly.
Yeah. Or may not have the capacity or time to like reach out to people.
Exactly.
So
go for it.
So have audacity.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let your ego lead the way a little bit.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly, though. Just those moments when you're trying to figure out your next step. I think it was really that moment. Like, well, okay, what's the next step? What's the next thing? What's the next content piece? What's the next arrangement? Because I had already several pretty viral arrangements in the bag then. There was like a Them Changes arrangement that I did that popped off before, and that thing that's like, okay, what's next? What is it? That'll lead you to your next successful moment.
I think it's also really important to note that you had identified like, oh, these kind of arrangements are going big. You're probably giving a lot of thought to the song choice too. Like that is a undersold, undersung element of being a musician, any kind of creative today, is identifying what's working, where can I find more of that, in a way that's also still fulfilling to me as a musician and doesn't just feel like it turns into a day job. That is such a like tough balance to find. I struggle with that a lot.
I mean, yeah, it is a tough balance to find, but as long as you just keep at it, you'll land on something. A lot of people stop right before they get there. You just have to push a little bit further.
Yeah.
And you'll get there.
Absolutely. Awesome. Shall we wrap up?
I can't believe it's been an hour. Right?
I know,
That's insane.
it flew by. So everyone watch American Idol, watch Amanda Barise's incredible performances, and vote for her. Daneyko, do you have any projects coming up? Anything we should check out?
Yes. I just got signed with an incredible A&R, Jason Peerless. I'll be basically in the studio cooking it up these next few months, getting a few singles out first, and then most likely an album. So you can find me on all social media, Daneyko Music. I'm on Instagram everywhere, and that's where you can stay tuned to see all the music that's in the process, and then eventually when it's out on all streamings.
And maybe American Idol next year.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Never know.
And I'm also really looking forward to the album you mentioned you're working on.
Yes.
As well. I can't wait for that.
It's going to be killing.
I bet. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Thanks to Amanda and Daneyko for joining us. If you like what you heard, rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Follow us at Relatively In Tune Pod on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and everywhere else. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. I've been Dean.
And I'm Tori DeMarzo.
And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.